Ah, February, the month of love and romance. So, you have any big plans?
Valentine's Day and the entire month of February is nothing more than corporations scamming people into...
Don't have a date because you're a loser. Oh, don't feel too bad. I don't have any plans either.
You're a god-beast mecha. How would you even...
Sometimes things get weird when I separate, especially if there's drinking involved. Oh, the things Zhu Mammoth can do with his trunk.
Stop. Just stop.
Don't be too upset. You still have me. Why don't we watch a movie? I still haven't seen the new Power Rangers film. I wonder how my magnificence is portrayed. Obviously, with access to a larger budget and state-of-the-art computer graphics, my modernized design is a marvel to behold.
Video! We should make a video. We haven't done one for this month yet.
The next big story arc is the Green Ranger saga.
Let's do something more thematically appropriate. How about love and romance in Power Rangers and Sentai?
Well, this isn't going to be a long episode.
You might be surprised.
Well, before we get started, I'm just going to do an image search for the Megazord in the new Power Rangers movie, and then... Oh, what the hell? Damn piece of junk.
Weird. Well, I'm sure it'll be fine. Let's go ahead and get started with this episode. We're going to go ahead and start off with the Jew Ranger episodes this time.
Episodes? Is this another two-parter?
No, but due to the nature of these two episodes, they got combined into one episode of Power Rangers. So, to understand what happened there, we're going to have to start with the Jew Ranger episodes.
Well, before just jumping into the review, it may be good to set up some context with how relationships are usually handled in Power Rangers and Super Sentai.
Good point. Part 1. Love and Romance. Romance is very rarely central to any storylines in Power Rangers, but it's not uncommon for Rangers to have romantic interests. Kimberly and Tommy start dating in the first season of the show, but they don't really do anything coupley, and their first kiss isn't until the episode where Tommy loses his powers and was originally intended to leave the show. Ninja Storm had a kind of relationship between Tori and Blake that didn't go anywhere, and Time Force did have a romance between the Pink and Red Rangers that ends tragically when Jen has to go back to her own time. While romance is fairly common in Power Rangers, it's still a dominantly action-oriented series.
Super Sentai, on the other hand, doesn't really do much with relationships. If members of the team have a love interest, it's usually with a supporting character that was introduced that episode who never shows up again. The main exception is Chojin Sentai Jetman, which has a love triangle between three members of the team that is a central part of the story. A more recent Sentai, Kyoryuger, the third dinosaur Sentai, kind of had a love triangle and sort of focused a little bit on the relationship between the Red and Pink Rangers, but it's not really fleshed out and I don't care anymore.
Oh, so Jew Ranger doesn't have any romantic subplots then?
Yes, they do. It's just kind of weird.
How so?
We should probably start with the review proper.
Part 2, a dumb filler episode that's creepy and weird. The first Jew Ranger episode we're looking at is The Knuckleball of Infatuation. It's the first filler episode set after Dragon Ranger, or Barai, joins the team as the 6th Jew Ranger. Don't worry, we'll talk about Barai's debut in Green with Evil in the near future.
We start off with a young girl that May knows, and...
Are the Jew Rangers on a first-name basis with every child in Japan?
I guess. They have a lot of free time and hang around way too many parks. May's young friend, Satoko, is upset because a boy named Jiro kicked her and called her a monkey.
Boy and Dan come to the conclusion that Jiro is mean to Satoko because he is in love with her and doesn't know how to tell her. Jiro runs off and reveals in a conversation with himself that Boy and Dan are right. Wait, these kids can't be older than 10.
Well, some children just develop faster than others. Not everyone is a late bloomer like you.
Yeah, but this isn't the first time Jew Ranger has done this, though. In the episode I Can See, the central plot thread is a prepubescent boy who is in love with a prepubescent girl that reminds him of his mother because there's nothing creepy about that.
Children can have complicated emotions. Love Actually had a love story involving 10-year-olds.
The only reason that part works at all is because Liam Neeson and Thomas Brodie Sangster had good stage chemistry. The love interest Joanna is barely in the movie and doesn't have a real character.
So you're saying that love stories involving children are better when there is less focus on the children?
Kind of. It can be done, but you, A, need really good child actors that can properly portray the subtle and complex emotions that come from being in love for the first time, and B, a thoughtful storyline about how these two characters interact with each other, and unfortunately, this episode has neither of those things.
But it has children, and this is a children's show, so, well, yeah.
Pandora decides to use the power of love to her advantage and forces Puri-Puri-Con to make Dora Pixie. Yeah, he's a kid. He's a straight-up kid. And yes, because of that, most of this footage was unusable for Power Rangers. Dora Pixie goes down to earth and throws his magic balls that, when swallowed, make people fall in love with the first thing they see. Hey, Daizyujin.
Yes?
Is there a connection between pixies and baseball?
No, but baseball is insanely popular in Japan, and so it's no surprise the Zyuranger has at least one monster that tries to take advantage of that popularity.
Dora Pixie uses his balls to make the boys Satoko is playing with fall in love with her and chase her around. He also uses the balls to make children fall in love with inanimate objects, like airplanes, cars, and even a dog. Okay, that's kind of funny.
What is it?
I've run out of positive things to say about this episode.
And? Your point? When has that ever stopped an internet reviewer? In fact, most of them have nothing positive to say about, well, anything, really.
Fair enough. Dora Pixie's rampage causes both Dan and Boy to fall in love with May, taking all three out of the fight. Jiro figures out how Pixie's powers work and steals a ball so that he can have Satoko swallow it and fall in love with him. I'm really rooting for Jiro. He's shown himself to be a real stand-up kid.
You're acting like you've never tried to give a girl a substance that alters her brain chemistry to make her like you.
No, I have never done that. That is not a good, healthy, normal thing to do. Satoko rejects eating the ball and runs away. Meanwhile, the Zyurangers are trying to figure out how to reverse the effects on Dan and Boy. While reading their big-ass history book, they learn the origins of Dora Pixie. He was a cupid that went bad and was banished. Are there actual similarities here to real-world mythological pixies?
Let me see. Cicero claimed there were 3 Cupids and 3 Venuses. The first Cupid was the child of Mercury and Diana, the second of Mercury and Venus number 2, and the third by the third Venus and Ares. This third Cupid filled a role similar to Anteros of the Erotes, who punished people who rejected love. This Dora Pixie could be a variation on that vengeful Cupid. This is why we often see artwork with flocks of Cupids, even though he is typically considered one god. Pixies were said to be childlike, which explains the child actor, and as for the... That was weird.
Whoa, sorry dude, I don't know if I can find another tiny computer monitor for you. How'd you find that one anyway?
Oh, I just got it while the camera wasn't focused on me. Don't worry, I'll have a new one soon.
What?
Just like this.
I really just need to stop being surprised by your bullshit. The Zyurangers don't know what to do since they're down 2 team members and they have no idea where Barai or Dragon Ranger is. They are told that the only way to reverse the effects of Dora Pixie's attack is to break off his horn. While trying to fight Dora Pixie, Ghosh gets hit with a ball and falls in love with his motorcycle.
When did this team become so incompetent?
They didn't do so well in the Dora Sphinx episode either.
The whole point of that storyline was about the Zyurangers learning to act like a team. They're just really incompetent now for no reason.
Lammy and Griffer, Lammy is Scorpina in Power Rangers, we'll touch up more on her when we talk about Barai, show up, forcing Geki to fight them off alone in Ju Tyranno. While that is going on, Jiro saves Satoko from a group of kids who are in love with her because of Pixie. This allows Sadako to see that Jiro isn't such a bad guy after all.
Jiro and Satoko help Mei trap Dora Pixie and break off his horn. Despite Mei being one of the least interesting Zhu Rangers, she's the one who breaks the horn and saves the rest of her team.
It turns out that Dora Pixie can now exude a gas that makes everyone love him. This seems like a much more useful power than throwing those stupid balls. Why didn't he just do that from the start?
He's a kid. He wants to play baseball. Now give him a break.
Because Mei is under the effects of Dora Pixie's spell, she is unable to pilot the pterodactyl and...
Pteranodon? Pterodactyl isn't classified as a dinosaur. In the Shout Factory release, it's a pteranodon, not a pterodactyl.
Fine, pteranodon. Because they aren't able to get their super important chest piece, they are unable to form Daizyujin. Fortunately, Barai hears Geki's cry for help and joins in the battle. Go Ryujin is formed and the day is saved.
Spotlight stealing asshole! Calm down. Breathe. As long as there isn't a series of episodes where this happens, it'll be just fine.
After the monster is destroyed, Jiro tries to tell Satoko how he feels. She makes fun of him and runs off. The Jew Rangers tell him that she likes him and to chase after her. There are just so many things wrong with this episode, I don't know where to begin. Granted, this episode is over 20 years old, but it was still the 90s. It wasn't that long ago, and it feels like I'm watching something from the 50s. Look, there are young boys that have communication issues, especially when it comes to girls, and they need help dealing with this. While overreacting and treating them as villains doesn't help, just brushing it off doesn't do them any favors either. If Jiro apologized to Sadako at any point in this episode, then it wouldn't bother me so much, but he doesn't. This episode doesn't seem all that concerned with Sadako's feelings. We're just supposed to forget about how Jiro treated her because he's bad at communicating. And that's terrible. And then on top of that, he basically tries to drug her. There's nothing wrong with him considering using the ball. But maybe you could have had it where, because he sees how unhappy Sadako is with all the neighborhood boys chasing her, that it's wrong to force his emotions on her and throws it away before saving her. Then Jiro, while still being flawed, can be argued to have a decent heart.
You are really overthinking this.
Maybe you're right. What do you think, Kumard? Your wise words always bring calm and solace to my heart. Are you still mad because Go Ryujin saved the day instead of you?
Thinks he's so great just because he's made from a stupid dragon and has a giant impractical drill. My attack is cooler and more technically impressive.
Will hating on the Power Rangers episode make you feel better?
A little. Maybe.
Part 3, Patchwork Filler.
So our story starts in the youth center.
No, it doesn't! This time it starts in the school.
They actually go to school? I just assumed they were all homeless delinquents, which was why they were spending so much time at the youth center.
They go to school and somehow manage to be top students while being superheroes.
The lack of realism in this show with color-coded spandex-wearing heroes disappoints me.
There's an audition for a martial arts commercial being held at the school.
Why aren't they holding the audition at a TV station?
That would have required them to make another set, which they probably didn't feel like doing. Tommy is going to audition, and Bulk is also auditioning. Bulk antagonizes Tommy, which prompts Tommy to pull off an amazing display of talent.
Was that supposed to be impressive? Also, how did he get away with doing that in a school? Where are the teachers?
Mr. Kaplan and Mrs. Appleby are the only 2 faculty members at this school until season 3, and 2 people can't be everywhere at once. Until our education system gets restructured, low-income schools like Angel Grove just can't afford more teachers.
The woes of the modern American education system.
After humiliating Bulk, we cut to Rita and her minions, who are coming up with their most dastardly plan yet.
Poop. I want a day off.
But you must lead us to victory.
I don't want to. You do it.
Yes, my queen.
This is honestly one of the greatest scenes to ever come from the show. Here's to you, scene.
To that scene.
We then transition to a mostly pointless beach scene. The only thing of note to happen here is that Skull puts mayonnaise on Bulk, causing him to be horribly sunburned in the next scene. Bulk does his audition, humiliates himself, and is convinced he got the part. We go back to the teens playing volleyball when Scorpina attacks.
Is there no one else at this beach? You'd think that eventually people would notice that Rita's minions are just targeting this one group of kids.
Scorpina pulls out her pet worm and traps the Rangers in a cocoon. This footage is taken from the episode Princess May's 7 Metamorphoses. It's a fun episode where May loses her ability to transform and has to fight Lammy alone, donning several different costumes while she's doing it. Since most of that footage is unusable, they just threw in a chunk they could use right here. Zordon and Alpha try to get in touch with Tommy, but he's busy with the karate commercial audition.
This was the most popular Ranger? He seems kind of lame and unreliable.
Yeah, but he has awesome stuff. Well, Tommy nails the audition, and while he's doing that, the Rangers coordinate their attacks and break free from the cocoon. It's time for an awesome monster fight!
Warn the Rangers, Goldar sent down Babe Ruthless, the baseball monster.
With a completely different monster. I know that they couldn't use any of the Jew Ranger Dora Pixie footage, but would it have been really that hard to film some original footage with the monster suit and then transition into the giant fight? You wouldn't need much, just a little bit. This is even more jarring and weird than the Chunky Chicken episode.
I'm not going to lie. I haven't been paying attention for most of this episode. I haven't seen much point in it.
After Babe Ruthless is defeated, the Rangers go and have a second monster fight and destroy the worm monster.
Why did they even bother with Babe Ruthless? It would have made more sense for them to transition into fighting the worm monster.
My best guess is that they were short on time, and so they threw in the usable footage of Dora Pixie to extend the episode's length. After defeating both monsters, the Rangers return to the youth center and watch a news report about their heroic exploits as they wait for Tommy's commercial. Bulk comes in and boasts about getting the part. When the commercial is played, Bulk is humiliated as his footage is used to showcase someone being terrible at martial arts.
I'm sorry, but this is bullshit. Neither Bulk nor Tommy were shown any of the commercial before it aired, and Bulk wasn't consulted about how he'd feel about his footage being used. Also, they just used the auditions as their footage. That's lazy and lame. There's no professionalism or respect for the actors.
12 to 18-hour days. And no overtime, no extra pay, no golden time. I was making about $622.11 every 2 weeks, filming 3 episodes.
And the reason that I walked off is because I was called faggot one too many times. So I had just heard that several times while working on the show from creators, producers, writers, directors. It's not that...
I'm just going to sit down and drink for a while.
A Star is Born doesn't have anything to do with love, and that's a good thing. While MMPR has a simple, flawed view of how love and romance works, at least when they explore the idea, it's between two people who are not underage and gives both parties some agency. Billy has a few love interests, but he does genuinely charm them and tries to be nice to them. It's not his fault they disappear the next episode. Zach is constantly turned down by Angela because he tries to win her affection by being cool and not actually, talking to her like a person. Jason gets a love interest in Zio, and he does actually have meaningful dialogue with her. Trini gets a love interest in Season 2, and while Twee Trong left the show before that went anywhere, it was still cute. Tommy and Kimberly's relationship was pretty decent in the first season. They were friends first, and so it was satisfying to see them make things official in what was supposed to be Tommy's last episode. Power Rangers isn't perfect in its depiction of love, but it isn't offensive. And unfortunately, almost everything about how Jew Ranger tries to tackle romance ends up offending me. I know the show is over 20 years old now, but it still bugs me. The message to young boys seems to be that if the girl shows disinterest or displeasure in what you're doing, just keep at it till she says yes. In the episode I Can See, our boy child character wants to give the girl he likes a present she's already rejected and slapped him for once, but he's still trying. That's not to be admired. That's just dumb and disrespectful. Action-adventure shows like Power Rangers and Jew Ranger aren't really known for romantic subplots, and they shouldn't be, which is why I'm not entirely sure why they're there to begin with. Love is a complicated emotion, and if it's going to be introduced into your story, you better be prepared to properly deal with those complications.
Especially if it involves prepubescent children.
Or just not having love stories involving prepubescent children? That's also a possibility.
You raise a fair point.
Well, that's all. Daizyujin, I can't help but feel like there's something we've forgotten to do this episode. Oh. Thanks. There you go, Kumar. Well, that was nice of Screamoji. Looks like he's turned over a new leaf. Maybe this month really does bring out the best in everyone.
There's something off about this. This seems incredibly out of character.
Kumar, you saved us.
Good bear! And you thought those bomb disposal classes were a waste of time.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, it was worth the money. Good job, Screamo! You almost got me that time! Well, that's all for now. Hope you all had a good Valentine's Day. Go have a consensual day of romance with someone who isn't a tool. Till next time.